On your exam, you could be expected to identify which mutual fund has what stated objective based on its expense ratio. The mutual fund expense ratio is comprised of all the expenses passed through to the investor. The mutual fund expense ratio tells the investor how much it costs them to have the mutual fund company manage their money. You have the board of directors. They get paid. You have the investment advisor. That is the biggest expense of the mutual fund company. They certainly get paid. Their fee is always a percentage of the net asset value. The custodian bank safeguards the portfolio for the mutual fund, and they are paid for that service. The transfer agent handles name changes, issues and redeems shares, and they are paid for that service as well. So here we have an example of 4 different fund companies with 4 different expense ratios. You have Fund A with an expense ratio of 0.15, Fund B with an expense ratio of 0.45, Fund C with an expense ratio of 0.75, and Fund D with an expense ratio of 1.3%. The test could ask you which one of these is the growth fund. Well, the one with the highest expense ratio is going to be the growth fund because they have to pay the investment advisor more to meet a more aggressive objective. It is much harder to achieve a growth objective than it is to perhaps achieve an income objective. So here in our example, Fund D would be the growth company. They could also ask you which one is the money market fund. The expense ratio on money market funds is extremely low. It will be the lowest one in your answer key. And here in our example, it would be Fund Company A. Fund Company B might be an index fund, one designed to track the results of the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ composite. They tend to have lower expense ratios because they're not doing active asset selection. They are merely buying shares of securities that are represented in that particular index. It is a passive investment strategy. Fund Company C with an expense ratio of 0.75 may be that income fund. Perhaps this is a corporate bond fund. So this is a great example of some of the concepts you could be tested on as it relates to a mutual fund expense ratio.